Hey, welcome back to Get Down to Business, the show all about small business, jobs, and entrepreneurship. Boy, did we have a treat in store for you. I'm thrilled to be joined by Kate Assaraf. She's the founder and CEO of Dip Sustainable Hair Care, a seven-figure brand built without Amazon, influencers, or big box retailers. As a Forbes columnist and New Jersey's Mompreneur of the Year 2024, Kate is on a mission to prove that small businesses can scale with integrity, supporting local economies while building products that perform. She's passionate about helping founders rethink growth, reject hustle culture, and prioritize community-driven commerce. Welcome to the program, Kate.
Oh man, thanks for having me here.
You bet. Your brand, Dip Sustainable Hair Care, achieved a seven-figure valuation without Amazon or paid influencers. Can you walk us through this intentional strategy behind that growth and how other small businesses can thrive outside the traditional playbook?
Sure. I'm a big fan of just being counterculture in general. And so what I saw was that Amazon, I call them vultures because they go to brands and they try and summon people onto the platform. They dangle this carrot that you're going to make tons of money on there, really disregarding the fact that Amazon makes a lot of money off of fees and small brands that try and get on the platform, at the same time cannibalizing their retail performance in stores. So I decided to bypass them and focus on, boots on the ground in different communities that share the same values as we did, which was getting plastic out of people's homes.
And again, as we've just been chatting about, you've made the deliberate choice not to sell on Amazon, focusing instead on building relationships with small retailers. You call it purposeful retail. Why is that so important to you, and how does it create long-term brand and community value?
It's important to me because I think as a consumer, so I'm not only an entrepreneur, I'm also living as a consumer all the time, as most other people are. I'm tired of what I think is review pollution and just kind of digital pollution that's out there. You really, as a consumer, you can't trust anything you see online anymore, especially now that, the AI floodgates have opened. And I think out of respect for our customers, I want them to be able to talk to someone who's experienced our hair care face to face. So I create incentives for them to shop in stores in local economies and to keep their own money in their town and circulating so that it works for them instead of siphoning it out of their bank account and sending it off to Amazon.
I'm chatting with Kate Assaraf, the founder and CEO of Dip Sustainable Hair Care. And Kate, you have shared quite candidly some of your experiences and challenges about opening and closing your first business. We know that the entrepreneurs tuning in are probably nodding their heads vigorously. They understand that building a successful business often involves overcoming significant challenges. Can you share that story, and what did that experience teach you about business resilience and ultimately reinvention?
Yeah, sure. By the time you're invited on a podcast like this, you're already excited about the highlight reels. But behind the highlight reels is this pit of despair that I think a lot of entrepreneurs go through. And especially my biggest mistake with my first brand was not banking on myself and thinking that I needed to bring on a partner to fill in the gaps where I thought I was, fell short. And so what I learned was that you can never really share your enthusiasm and your passion with someone else. It's not something that transfers to someone else by osmosis. And the hardest thing I learned is that sometimes you have to close that business and start again and take all your lessons with you. But it is, a tale that you hear over and over again. And, if anyone's considering sharing their passion with someone else, I just want you to know it doesn't always pan out that way.
Absolutely. Kate, let's talk a little bit more about the specifics of what you do and what your product is. Dip Sustainable Hair Care. I could kind of guess from the title over there, which means you've done some good branding. But tell us a little bit about your unique value proposition. Why is your product so awesome?
Sure. I'm going to start off by saying we're a plastic-free hair care brand that never talks about being plastic-free, which is a weird intro for what I'm going to say next. We're very serious hair care for not so serious people. I noticed that a lot of times in sustainability, it's full of finger waggling and guilt marketing and shaming. And I actually don't think that that gets people to buy anything. What Dip Sustainable Hair Care is shampoo and conditioner bars that work so well that we don't have to mention plastic in the marketing, and also save you so much money that you don't really feel like you've been burned by sustainability by buying something way more expensive. Like, for example, our conditioner bar alone replaces about $500 worth of luxury conditioner for me. And that was a big deal.
How did you stumble on this need?
I was a frustrated consumer myself. I was trying to reduce my plastic, and I kept buying different hair care bars. Like, I could make all the other swaps, but you wear your hair every day. So it was one of those things where I was projecting out that I was plastic free, but then when I was alone in the shower, I was secretly, hitting the bottle is really the best way to say it. And so I knew that I could make a better bar because I had been in beauty for a long time. And I knew I could make it for not this crunchy, sustainable avatar as I see it that is like being marketed to. It's more for people that live in the medium that want something really great that just happens to be plastic free.
Absolutely. Well, our listeners can't see me, but I don't wear my hair every day. But that's I just look like a good army, good soldier over here with that bald haircut. But Kate, I can understand the need that you're filling in. Just real quick, we're gonna have to cut to break in a moment. What was that first big break for you? When did you know that, gosh, you're really going places?
When I sold the first $1 million worth without a single advertisement. That was all word of mouth.
And we've been chatting a little bit about that. Again, chatting with Kate Assaraf. What an incredible story. She's the founder and CEO of Dip Sustainable Hair Care. We're going to continue our conversation with Kate when we come back after a quick break. Don't touch that dial. Welcome back to Get Down to Business. We've just been chatting during the break, talking a little bit about all of our different hairstyles. A great conversation. Again, I'm chatting with the founder and CEO of Dip Sustainable Hair Care. That's Kate Assaraf. Really enjoying this conversation. Kate, we chatted about this a little bit in our first part of the conversation, but you advocate for rejecting hustle culture. What does that mean to you? And how can fellow entrepreneurs achieve significant growth without burning out?
Yeah, I think, I'm a older millennial, and we were just trained to be those free assistants, like do whatever you can to get your foot in the door and work really hard. And I think there is value to some of that knowledge, but there's something weird about that knowledge that people took it to extremes, and they thought that they needed to work 20 out of the 24 hours a day to be successful. And I sometimes think that people, and especially Americans, we identify our whole being with what we do for a living. And so I think people need to learn to, scale back a little bit, and you don't have to be a multimillionaire. You can just have a company that does good things.
So Kate, for business owners who are looking to scale their operations, what's one piece of advice that you'd give them about maintaining their integrity and staying true to their values during the growth process?
I would say do not get glittered by what you think other people are doing in their numbers. Really be intentional about the paths you choose for growth. People will offer out all these, they're almost like in the business world and on LinkedIn, they're almost like trolls offering you all these different paths. And you're like, oh, that sounds great. That sounds great. That sounds great. But I would say choose one or two paths for your growth and scaling, not all of them, and see what intentionally works for your customer, because your customer probably isn't everywhere. It's probably on just a few of those paths. And be very careful about trying to overscale when your customers aren't at the end of those paths.
That's really, really good advice. And honestly, that's true in every single industry, and great advice for entrepreneurs. Kate, we're starting to come to the end of our time over here. And I know you are deeply passionate about supporting local economies. And that goes beyond a Small Business Saturday. It's a year-round effort and something that you've been speaking very passionately about. And it's working for you, Kate. How do you recommend businesses actively engage with and contribute to their local communities?
Well, I think the first thing is if you want to try both paths of owning a D2C company and also having your products on shelf at retail, make sure that your D2C business doesn't undercut your retailers. I see that happening all the time where brands just, they do 25, 30, 40% off on digitally. And then that consumer has zero incentive to go into a store and buy something. And therefore that store owner puts all of your stuff on sale. And before you realize it, what you did to try and grow has actually led to the collapse of your brand.
Kate Assaraf, I've really enjoyed our conversation over here. And as we've been chatting about, you've got an incredible hair care line that has been built without relying on Amazon influencers or big box retailers. And I know you share a lot of advice on Forbes, as well as throughout, you've received many accolades in New Jersey and beyond. Kate, what's next for you? Where do you see Dip Sustainable Hair Care going in the remainder of 2025 and beyond?
Well, we've just added 3 new people to our team, which is so exciting. We're growing very, very deliberately and very methodically. And I'm not trying to, grow at such an extreme rate that I can't handle it and my team gets overworked. But it really has been a source of pride for me to be able to hire people in an economy where all I read about is layoffs. And I'll be very excited if our team can handle more growth. And that's what I'm focusing on, just making sure my team is taken care of. And at the end of the year, I can pay them a bonus.
Congratulations on all of that success. Kate, how can our listeners get in touch with you?
Sure. You can find our products at dipalready.com, and you can find on our website a store locator that will pull up the closest zero-waste store, hair salon, or surf shop near you that carries Dip. And if you wanted to find us on socials, we're at Dip Already on TikTok and on Instagram. And I'm Kate Assaraf. You can find me on LinkedIn as well.
That's all we have time for today. To success, let's get down to business. We'll see you next week.